If I have seen further than any other man, it is because I have stood upon the shoulders of giants, by Sir Isaac Newton. You're invited today to stand upon the shoulders of a giant in the boating world. Next on Captain's Log.
This is Captain's Log with your host, Captain Mark Gray. Welcome aboard.
Our guest is Judge Albert T. Blanford, past commander of the Ventura-U.S. Power Squadron. Could you give us some of your boating history, experience, background, sir?
Yes, I'd be very glad to, Mark. In World War II, I joined the United States Coast Guard, and I became a seaman and spent 42 months in the Coast Guard during World War II. I was a seaman aboard a buoy tender in the Hawaiian Islands area, and then after that, I was a signalman on an LST.
That's a flagman on a
we
big
used
ship.
the flag. Although we used the blinker light more than we did flags. But we used flags and the blinker light.
The LST is used for
landing ship tank.
Right.
The bow doors used to open and the tanks would come rumbling out onto the beach.
That's way back there, and then to.
So after World War II, I went to law school and didn't really take up boating again seriously until about a dozen years ago when I bought a boat for my son, who was then about 15 years old, and we started sailing. And about that time I joined the Power Squadrons. The United States Power Squadron is a national private boating organization, and I joined the Ventura Power Squadron, which is one of the squadrons in the United States Power Squadrons. And I'm a past commander of that squadron now.
I understand that your son, when he was young, you started him off on all the boating courses, and how long did that take before he graduated?
He was only 15 when we joined the squadron. He was not a full member at that time. He wasn't old enough, but he's taken all the courses that are offered, all the advanced grade courses that are offered up through navigation. And in fact, 2 summers ago, he navigated a 37-foot Irwin down from Seattle down here to Channel Islands Harbor.
Mm-hmm. I see. That's quite a trip. Could you tell us a little bit about the history of the Power Squadron?
Power Squadron was organized about the turn of the century, about the time that power boats began appearing on the scene as recreational boats. Before that, they'd all been sailboats. Members of the New York Yacht Club and the Boston Yacht Club at that time, they were kind of like outcasts among all the sailors in the 2 yacht clubs. So they organized a separate organization, the United States Power Squadrons, to emphasize education and boating, and it has grown from that. Today we have squadrons all over the United States, well in excess of 50,000 members. For example, here in Southern California, there are 19 squadrons in what they call the 13th District. San Luis Obispo has a squadron, Santa Barbara, Ventura, one in the Valley, Long Beach.
So it's everywhere in boating communities.
Everywhere.
And lakes also, I would imagine.
Yes, there are also squadrons in the Midwest and the lakes and rivers in that area too. It isn't limited to just the coast, but it's a large boating organization, and it's designed, as I say, primarily for education.
What would the other functions be, sir?
Well, besides the public education, we educate our own members in advanced seamanship and navigation up through celestial navigation. And then we also have a social side of the organization. We have cruises out to the islands, and we have monthly dinners or picnics and that sort of thing. But primarily we're a educational organization.
And on the educational side, how often do you hold the free public boating classes? Is that every 3 months? Or?
No, the public boating courses are held in the spring and in the fall. The next one will be starting in September of this year. We have room for approximately 100 students, both in the fall and in the spring.
In the Ventura
In the Ventura Squadron. Now, Santa Barbara and each of the other squadrons also have public boating courses.
Would you have a ballpark figure of how many new people take this first free boating class across the country in all of them?
I can't give you the exact numbers, but I
Just
know
ballpark?
It's a small part of the total number of people who are involved in recreational boating, unfortunately, because there are a lot of people out there that really could benefit by some education, and our classes emphasize safety above everything else.
I know when I went through my Power Squadron, public boating classes, and actually I took my girlfriend through it also. There were about 100 people there also in Port Hueneme at the Pacific Corinthian Yacht Club.
Yes, that's...
And it seems that if you multiply that out across the country and all of the offices that you have, that's a tremendous amount of people.
I don't think all of the squadrons have courses that are quite that large, but they all have they all put on classes, and there's a large number throughout the country who take our classes, but there are a great many more people who own boats who do not take the classes.
And I understand once you've taken the class and you get your certificate after you pass the test, and I think we started in September and our test was given in January or December.
It runs about 14 weeks roughly.
At 1 hour per week, or one class per week, I'm sorry. Usually ran 2 or 3 hours, I guess. Once that is done, then you can join the Power Squadron, right?
We're a private boating organization, Mark. You can't just knock on the door and demand entrance. Entrance is by invitation, but I can almost say that if those of you who take the public boating course, if you want to join, I'm sure somebody will see your merit and will recommend you for membership. Right. Yes.
Okay, and let's say that I'm in there now. What type of advanced training do you have?
Well, once a person becomes a member of the squadron, then there are two types of courses, basically what they call advanced grade courses and then elective courses. The advanced grade courses start with seamanship, which goes into the same subject matter as the public boating course, except in a little more detail. That's followed by a course in piloting, which again covers material that was covered very basically in the public boating course, again going into more detail. The third course among the advanced courses is called advanced piloting, and now when you finish that particular course, which includes not only navigation or piloting along the coast, it includes such subjects as current, tides. Once a person has completed that course, he is really fairly competent to navigate up and down the coast within sight of land generally. The next courses, advanced courses, are in celestial navigation, called junior navigation, where you actually learn to use the sextant, and upon completion...
For our people that are unfamiliar with boating, a sextant is the piece of equipment that you shoot the stars.
A sextant is an instrument by which you measure the angle between a heavenly body and the horizon.
Yep. We're going to be back with more right after our break. And Boshan Moshan is next. Boating, Fashion, and Motion. We'll be right back. We're back with Boshan Moshan, Boating, Fashion, and Motion. Miss Donna Russel, sponsor and coordinator, and owner of Ventura Bikini. Tell me, Donna, do you have any plans of expanding in the future, or perhaps having more services?
Well, Mark, we have expanded 3 times already, and this is only going on our 3rd year. But our expansion plans, I would say, to do more catalog work.
Okay, well, let's get on with the show. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Our first model is Donna Russel. She's wearing a black and white box print palm, and this comes in the turquoise and black. It comes in pink and black, and a couple different prints besides this box palm. Very nice with the triangle top and the high bottom. Thank you very much, Dana. Our next suit is being worn by Cherie Bouchard. It's a body glove suit. It's in the black print on the pink with a little gray in it. It's got the V-wire in the top that makes it very secure. It's good for big busted and small busted girls with this top. Nice bandeau that stays in place that well. Thank you very much, Cherie. And our last model is Rose Simmons. She's wearing one of our new French bathing suits. What's nice about this suit, you can roll it down like that for the two-piece. Very nice bandeau top with the black and the turquoise accent. And Rose, show us what you can also do with that suit. It just turns right into a one-piece by just rolling it up in place. Has the nice support underneath with the bandeau. Thank you very much, ladies, and back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Donna. That was really nice. Now we're back with Judge Albert T. Blanford. He's a past commander of the United States Post Power Squadron here in Ventura. Right, Ventura Power Squadron. It's a mouthful. Could we pick up where we left off on the advanced courses, sir?
Yes, I was talking about the junior navigation course, which is offered to the members of squadrons. It's the basic course in learning to use the sextant, which I think I was describing as the instrument.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Measures the angle between the heavenly bodies and the horizon, and then based on that information and the time involved and a number of other things, you can determine your position out on the ocean. After junior navigation, there's the last advanced courses, navigation, and here you go into a lot of the theory of navigation and so forth. And a person who has completed those courses, at least as far as education is concerned, has the knowledge to navigate a boat anywhere in the world. Of course, experience can be important too, as well as knowledge. Also, in addition to the advanced grade courses, we teach what they call elective courses. For example, we have a course in sailing. By the way, the Power Squadron is not limited to power boats. About half our members sailboats and half are power boaters. But in addition to the sailing course, we also have engine maintenance, where we learn a little bit about engine maintenance. We're not marine mechanics when we finish the course, but we have a much better idea of a marine engine than we did before. We also have another course in marine electronics, again, where we learn a little bit about radar and sonar and the other.
How to keep the equipment up and.
Basically, again, we're not technicians, so we can't make major repairs.
No, I mean, like, it should be run every week
you have an
and things
idea
of
of how
that
to
sort.
maintain them properly, and when you do need help in getting them repaired and so forth. We also have a course in weather, which is a very interesting course, because obviously having a little knowledge and being able to look up at the sky and have some idea as to what the future foretells with regard to weather can be very important for a sailor. The last elective course we have is called Instructor Qualifications, and that's to teach us to be teachers, so that we can, once we've learned the information, these courses, we can turn around and help educate others in the process. We have one other course that is offered, which is a very interesting course. It has been offered too often, but it's called the Skipper Saver Program. And this is a program which can be given not just to members of the squadron, but to private organizations, yacht clubs, or anyone else who might be interested. And it's designed for the spouse who does not really operate the boat, to learn enough about it to take care of a situation if the skipper should be injured or. Of
course, in some cases, as you do know, the woman or the lady might own the boat and have her husband take a skipper saver course.
That's right. It goes both ways. Of course, ideally, both persons, both the husband and wife, should know how to run the boat and
go through the classes together.
Right. But this course is designed for the spouse who is not really interested, the non-operator spouse, to know enough about the whole process, to at least know how to turn on the radio and call the Coast Guard, for example.
Does she have to be a member of the Power Squadron, or just her spouse?
This particular course can be arranged to be given to any group that might be interested in
right. I think here locally at the Pacific Corinthian Yacht Club classes, that organization that gave them, they were saying that they were going to add that to their beginners class, that it's available and it's a real
Yes, it is available, and any group that might be interested in such a program, we can arrange to present that program for them. The public boating course, of course, is the really important thing in my mind, because we're attempting to reach out to the general boating public and get as many people as possible involved so that we can promote boating safety.
And get them on the road to education.
That's
get them
correct.
familiar with what it's about and everything.
That's correct. You have to remember, and I'm sure you're well aware, Mark, that ocean is a big place out there, and it can be very nice on a beautiful afternoon like this, but at other times it can be very treacherous out there.
One bad experience I found usually turns people off to boating if they didn't lose their life,
That's right.
So it's nice to have the knowledge to prevent a bad experience or to make it survivable and say, well, we were prepared and no one got hurt or injured or died. Therefore, we'll stay in boating. That's very important. One thing I did want to ask is that in the future, do you know if you have any plans of perhaps using modern technology, videotaping the classes, due to the fact that you and I believe, both know that the smart person would come and get all the classes for 3 years before they bought the boat. But usually they buy the boat, then they say, I want to be safe. I'm going to go get the classes. At one class a week, it takes about 3 years to get a good background on you,
Right.
and every weekend they're out at the islands getting into trouble. So do you see a possibility of that in the future?
I see that could be, I would imagine that would be a possibility in the future. In our particular classes, of course, we attempt to get participation among the students of back and forth between the instructor and the students, but I can see that
Somewhere that will
videotapes
happen.
of boating safety at this type of program would be very beneficial. And if somebody couldn't attend the boating course, I would certainly recommend, if there were such a thing available, that they look at it. Yes.
Well, we do plan on putting all 25 of our shows with all the safety tips and everything on VHS and beta tapes, offering it to the public and through educational sources. But we don't look at that as being as informative as the academics,
Yeah.
of boating, which is more or less what you handle. We're
Right.
handling the practical side and
Right.
well-rounded view. I did talk to Mr. Hal Wilder, and ask him that question, and he mentioned that some of the Power Squadron branches are so small that they don't have a VHS, or it might be a financial burden,
Yes,
for them to come up with that to play the tapes. But I do believe that there's enough members and what have you, or even if you have to rent it from the VHS, movie store, that this, would come about. I would hope so. Right now, it's time to go back on to our next thing. We have Sea Tales coming up next, true stories that may save your life. We'll be back right after this. Catalina Yachts, a sailor's choice nationwide.
My boats aren't just for pleasure. Their high resale value makes them a justifiable investment.
My name is Wayne Noftel. I own a charter company called Imagine Yacht Charters in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. And this is our second Catalina 42. And the reason we're choosing Catalina 42s over other boats, well, we've obviously done a lot of shopping. And pound per pound, foot per foot, dollar per dollar, you can't beat them. If you're in the market for a charter sailboat, you owe it to yourself to sail a Catalina 42. Believe me, the boat will sell itself.
Catalina Yachts, with over 50,000 boats made with pride in the USA. The nation's largest builder of sailboats invites you to call for free literature and a Catalina dealer in your area. Call 1-818-884-7700. Begin sailing your dream boat into reality today.
Catalina never up.
I think it means feet. Ahoy there, mates. May I give you two a word of advice?
Skipper.
I spent many years on a deserted island, and one of the important things I learned is don't leave the harbor without knowing the boat or the rules of safe boating. You can learn them, too, by taking the free instruction sailboat course from the Squadron. Here. The Squadron won't leave you stranded.
Our Our Seatails guest is Captain Paul McCauley. He's the Vice President of the National Boat Owners Association. Paul, it's nice to see you back.
Thank you.
I understand you have a Seatail for us, a true story with a safety message.
Yes.
And could you elaborate?
Sure. This one is happened quite a few years ago, and I was involved with this one actually, and I was diving with a partner, and we'd gotten this great story from one of the local guys where you could find all this fine halibut, and it happened to be right off the discharge side of the Port Hueneme power plant, where the warm water discharge is from the
generator?
From the generator. They
I understand
suck water
sharks
in.
hang out in the warm water too.
Well, possibly.
Is that true?
I didn't see any sharks. The visibility was too bad. Probably lucky, but we didn't find any halibut either. But we did get separated due to the bad visibility. And when you get into hunting for fish or spear fishing, you tend to lose the buddy system quite frequently, especially if you're in low visibility. You can't keep an eye on your buddy and look for fish at the same time. And we were both experienced divers, so we kind of got separated several times. And once we got separated, I came up and my partner did not come back up. And I got a bit concerned about it. And after about 15 minutes, realizing that he had to be out of air, I thought for sure he got blown into shore by the current. He didn't, and I ended up calling the Coast Guard on the radio and getting quite concerned. And all of a sudden, I saw him walking up over the rise in the sand with all his diving gear, and come to find out that he had found the intake side of the power plant
that brings the water up
that
in
sucks
through
the water into the power plant. And
that's scary.
It looked to him like just a big rock. It was overgrown with coral. There was no signs or nothing indicating that it was a suction side. No beware of divers or anything like that.
Yeah, down in the water you don't find too many road signs.
And like I say, with a limited visibility, you could never even see the whole structure at any one time. And he was looking up the side of it for scallops, and he got toward the top of this lip of this edge, which was about 20 feet in 40 feet of water, this rise, and he started to feel the suction. Well, he pushed himself away and put his fins back up to swim back away from it, and it sucked him in feet first. And he ended up coming up out the middle of the Port Hueneme power plant. He went about 3/4 of a mile.
He went through the pipe?
3/4 of a mile through about a 10-foot diameter pipe. And we've been told by the Edison company that this has happened twice before, and both times the divers died.
For our viewers watching that may go for the ride, where do you come out up there? I mean, I have this picture of going through some machinery or something.
Well, there's no grating on the outside of the suction because fish get stuck to it and they have to go out and clean it. So the grating is just before the big impeller on the inside of the power plant.
So you're stuck on the
That's
grating?
what would happen. That's what's happened to the other divers. If you get hit up against that grating, you get knocked out and you run out of air, you die. There's a big access just prior to that, a big access hole.
Does it go up or down? Or?
Well, it's just a big opening, like a pool. It's like a pool in the middle of the power plant.
I have this picture going through a pipe, right? And somewhere it has to be up, down, to the side, somewhere.
It's parallel, horizontal to the bottom. It's underneath the sand. You go underneath the beach. And
I'm not going to look for it. We have about a minute left, so I'll let you continue.
So, well, he saw the light. He saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
Too.
And it was just prior to the grating, and he saw this was his only chance, and he popped the air release on his buoyancy compensator, and it shot him up to the surface, and luckily he slammed right into the ladder to climb out, and he just grabbed hold of it, and if he hadn't grabbed hold of that, he would have. But the message I have is to divers out there, there are no warning signs on a lot of these buoys and these suction places out of there, and if anybody tells you to go diving for halibut out of, just stay away. They're marked on the
power
charts
plants
and,
or something like
you
that.
Just stay away from them. Even though we thought we were well away from the intake, we found ourselves way too close to it. He lived through it, luckily.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I like stories with happy endings and the message. There's so many of them with unhappy endings that it's too late for them. And we're running out of time. That could or could not be a happy ending. I don't know. This has been Captain's Log. Please be safe. Get the education you need to be safe. And when in doubt, don't. Thank you. And watch Captain's Log.